Welcome to the introductory episode of Control Your Brain, the podcast. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh, a cognitive neuroscientist with all the tools that you need to be able to improve anxiety and focus. This podcast is dedicated to teaching you about the neuroscience principles and, more importantly, action steps that you can take in your own life to be able to improve the way that your brain functions so that you feel better in your mind and body. So, exciting things to come on this podcast. We are going to talk about decreasing stress and anxiety, improving attention, focus, and motivation, and we're going to touch upon how to stay away from or recover from internet-based addictions. So, let me tell you just a little bit about myself so that you know why I'm here and why I think I'm qualified to be able to share this type of educational material with you. Okay, so I am a cognitive neuroscientist with a varied and extensive professional background and experience, and at the same time, I have always been on a journey of metaphysical personal development. So what that means is that for a long time, I have been trained in how the brain performs neurologically, how brain functioning then falls out as behaviors of the mind and body. So I actually started as a speech language pathologist a long time ago, and I first cared about language, but language development very closely is related to cognition and cognitive development. Cognition is thinking. So when I began my career as a speech pathologist, I would tell people that, basically secondarily to our ability to think and perform, language is the second most important thing that a person has or cares about. Our ability to communicate with other people is what connects us. So those two things are very important for health and for wellness. So health is the number one thing people care about, and then secondarily their ability to communicate. So thinking and being able to think is very important to a person's health. So that's what we're going to break down here. Now, why do I use the tagline Control Your Brain? Is because a long time ago I started making videos on YouTube regarding brain training and neuromodulation, neurofeedback therapy, some things we're going to talk about here on the podcast on how you can improve your brain. And at the end of one of the videos, I said, control your brain or it will control you. And immediately, I loved the idea and the sound of it. And since then, so many people have told me that they really love that idea, and it encapsulates what they are going through in their inability to focus, their feeling of being unmotivated, feeling stressed out, feeling anxious, having brain-based challenges, whether that be developmental problems that result in motor issues or language and communication issues or ADHD, thinking issues, focus issues, physical problems, that motor disorders, like Parkinson's disease, that's a neurodegenerative disease. So basically, for my whole career, I have focused on neurodevelopment, neurodisorders, and neurodegeneration. And everything we talk about here is going to focus on those ideas. And once we get rolling together, you'll soon find out that just about everything falls under one of those three categories, because we lose sight of the fact that our brains are the supercomputers that run our bodies and our minds. And I'm going to continue to remind you of that, and then I'm going to give you the action steps to make your brain perform better so that you can think more clearly, feel calmer and relaxed, be more focused, jazz up your motivation, and get on purpose in your life. And what I want for people is I want people to go to a job they love that feeds their soul. I want them to be able to hang out with their people who make them feel good and add to their lives. And I want you to be able to engage in your hobbies so that you balance the way that you use your brain, you're spot on purpose in your life, and you're thriving at your full potential. That is the goal of this podcast. So, to that end, every podcast episode will have one neuroscience lesson on one fundamental concept that will help you to move forward towards your full potential. There will also be not only a concept, an action step based on that concept, and that is something that's called integration theory. That is how people learn how to make the changes in their lives to improve the best. So when I show you the how and the why behind the change strategy, you are going to be fired up to go try it. And I have been doing this for many years as an educator and for many years also as a brain health coach. So I have been doing this with individuals for a long time and with classes at the university for a long time. So let me tell you a little bit about myself and how I told you I started as a speech language pathologist, but let me tell you that I'm from a big family, big Irish Catholic family of 6 children. My mom and dad they just celebrated their 58th wedding anniversary yesterday. And my husband asked my dad, how many years have you been married? And I interjected from the background, probably too many, right, Dad? Which actually he really loved. But my dad is 81 and my parents have been married for 58 years. Can you believe that? So that's pretty cool stuff. And I have 5 brothers and sisters. So there's 6 of us, 3 boys and 3 girls. Unironically, my husband's family is Irish Catholic, and he is from a family of 3 boys and 3 girls. And even less ironic, I suppose, is that we have a family of 3 boys and 3 girls. So we will be talking about family dysfunction and multi-generational transmission of family patterns and how they impact your brain performance. And honestly, they're at the root of much of anxiety and internet addiction. So we'll be uncovering some of that on this podcast. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited to get into that. We are going to be talking about the brain patterns behind ADHD, behind anxiety, behind many of the issues that people struggle with. Reach out to me if you have anything you want to hear about on this podcast, because this is in fact a responsive podcast where I try to respond to what people want to hear. So please let me know. Info at Dr. Trish Leigh if you have any ideas. Okay, so going back to where I'm from. I'm from Buffalo, New York, and my family and I moved to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, almost 9 years ago, I think. And I love it here. I've got rose-colored glasses for North Carolina for Chapel Hill. So when I moved down here, I left my position as a tenured and promoted university professor, which I had been doing for a very long time, because I studied, I researched, and I used neurotherapies at my university, and I wanted to bring it to practice with families, with individuals, with people, which is exactly what I did. So when we moved down here, my hubs is chiropractor. We bought a chiropractic practice and I established a neurofeedback therapy practice within it. And the story's kind of a long one, but the short version goes, I bought one neurofeedback computer system and my husband gave me a corner of a room. You know how that one goes. And before you know it, I kind of took over more of his office than he wanted me to. So we eventually end up purchasing space that we have a whole neurofeedback, beautiful state-of-the-art suite that we still operate together. I have technicians and my husband knows how to do her neurofeedback in the office. So he runs our office neurofeedback therapy. And I have a consulting and educational business, drtrishleigh.com, where I offer remote neurofeedback around the world. So, and I offer digital programs. So there's a small, medium, and large program that people can engage with at drtrishleigh.com. I have also founded a nonprofit organization called pornbrainreboot.org, and it is a nonprofit that raises money. I sell programs there, but all the program purchases actually are donations that can be written off in tax exempt status to combat porn use. And combat's the wrong word because I'm not a combat kind of girl. It really is to educate and inspire and motivate people to stop consuming pornography, because I consider it to be the number one brain damaging modality in the world right now, and people are unassuming consumers. They watch porn and they don't know that it is literally scientifically proven to damage your brain. It deactivates your frontal lobe and it desensitizes the reward center in your brain, and it has a massive ripple effect of negative consequences to the individual who watches it, but also to families. And you can go to my YouTube channel, Porn Brain Reboot, Dr. Trish Leigh. Hundreds of videos there educating you on the dangers of pornography and how to try to leave it behind by yourself. It's highly addictive, which is why I offer the programs, and I'm raising money to create prevention programs for sex education classes in high schools so that young people who are being impacted more than ever can learn the dangers. So you can go to pornbrainreboot.org, or you can access that website through drtrishleigh.com. If you want more information, you can check out that YouTube channel. And that's all I'm really going to say here on Control Your Brain, but I say a lot over there, if you know what I mean. So you can join me. And I also have a podcast, Porn Brain Reboot, where we talk all about porn and how to establish healthy sexuality. The number one thing you can do for yourself and your family. Okay, now back to Control Your Brain, what we're doing over here. I also have a YouTube channel, Brain Reboot, Dr. Trish Leigh, where I make videos on neurofeedback brain training therapy, where I also make videos on the brain patterns that create a multitude of challenges and what people can do to help themselves. I am here to help people help themselves. So you can go watch some of those videos if you're interested and learn more there. But here we're going to break it down week by week, concept by concept, action step by action step. So you can stay here with me and learn everything you need to do to be able to control your brain. So my background, I'm a cognitive neuroscientist, and it's sometimes tricky to qualify my quantitative professional experience, but I started as a speech language pathologist. I have a bachelor's in speech language pathology. I have a master's degree in communicative disorders and sciences. I also have a PhD in communicative disorders and sciences, where I focused on cognition. I simultaneously earned a PhD track, so I have PhD training in cognitive science, which is brain performance and how it falls out as behaviors of the mind and body. I have also earned a master's in educational leadership. I am certified through the Amen Clinic as a brain health coach. I am certified through the American Academy of Sex Addiction Therapists as a sex addiction recovery coach. I am certified in just about every brain therapy, neurotherapy that is out there. A long time ago, I went through, not a long time ago, but in my training, I've gone through many neurotherapy certifications. I'm certified in the Tomatis method, vagal nerve stimulation. But what happened was I landed on neurofeedback therapy as the number one neurotraining or brain training modality that a person can use that's non-invasive. It doesn't do anything bad to you. It has no real chance of doing it if you use neurofeedback therapy with a skilled provider. It has no chance of harming you, but it can only help you, and it very naturally regulates your nervous system, your brain and your nervous system. So that's how I kind of went from using a lot of neurotherapies to just using neurofeedback, because it's easy. You don't have to do anything in particular, and it heals your brain. And then when I coach people, I'm able to give them strategies so that as we improve their brain performance pattern, then they can learn how to use the new pattern in their lives, and then that engages what's called Hebb's law. Neurons that fire together wire together. And so what that means is when you create a better brain pattern of calm focus and then you go use it, you create the neural pathways for long-term change and improvement. And that's what I'm all about. So that is my background, and I just wanted to welcome you here. Please look for new episodes each week, because I am here to help you. And if you want help in your journey, if you struggle with a cognitive issue, with a seemingly psychological issue, or a physical issue, I want you to know many of those challenges come from your brain. So please reach out to me, info@drtrishleigh, or go to my website and get some more information on how I help people, because I'd love to help you out. Most people need some professional help for those things. And I am able to provide that support for you. Okay, so go check that out. And until next week on Control Your Brain, the podcast, please control your brain or it will control you. See you next week, everybody.